Hey guys, Trey Belcher here with Trey Belcher Training and FMS, and today we're going to do a breakdown of the active straight leg raise pattern. So I've got Peyton set up in position here, feet together, toes pulled back to the chin, back to the knees across the board, arms down at a 45-degree angle with the palms facing up, head and neck in a nice relaxed position. Now this is a reciprocal motion pattern. We're checking hip extension on one leg and hip flexion on the other leg. This is important for our general purpose clients who want to function optimally. They want to take a walk with their family, they want to go get the groceries. For our athletes, it's very important for sprinting mechanics, for change of direction, because we're always in that single leg stance with hip extension on one and hip flexion on the other. So, having Peyton in position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the ASIS, the anterior iliac spine, top of the hip, and the center of the kneecap. I'm going to measure it. I'm going to find the midpoint of there. I'm going to drop my dowel. Okay? This is beyond this is a 3. Between the kneecap and the mid thighs are 2. Below the kneecap is a 1. What I like to do is I like to position myself right in line with the kneecap so I can see 1 versus 2. And the stick will determine 2 versus 3. So for the video's purposes, we're only going to measure this leg so I don't turn my back to the camera. All right? Maximum of 3 attempts. Good. While he's here, we check the bottom foot to see any deviation. If we see any movement in that foot, that's where we stop our test. All right, we'll bring it back down. If your client has a 3 on the leg raise and you know it's a 3 and it's good on the first attempt, you don't have to do the other 2 attempts. But if there is any question, you can certainly go to a maximum of 3 attempts. All right, let's get back in position. Always to reset the position before you move again. Go for it. Okay. See here, he's lost a little contact between the board and the knee, so we'll bring that back down and we'll do a reset. 1 more attempt. And we're good. Everything's locked in place, everything's good here and down. So, I've tested Peyton before, and I know that he's a symmetrical 3-3 on his pattern, so we can load him up with whatever we need. If he was a asymmetrical pattern, then we would do some corrective exercises. If he was a 1, then we would do some corrective exercises. For the purpose of the video, I'm going to show you guys a couple of correctives that you might find helpful in these situations. The first one, we're going to take our Cook band, or if you have any other type band, have them grab the band. If you have someone that can assist with pulling tension on the band, that's great. If you need someone if you don't have that at your availability and you need to tie the band around the pole or hook it to a carabiner, that will work also. So between movements, Peyton will cycle a breath here. So he will cycle a breath, you will pull the band to engage his core. That sets your core and your pelvis, lumbar spine in alignment. Then you will cycle another breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you will raise one leg. You will cycle a breath again, lower the leg. You will cycle another breath, bring the arms back. We'll do that 1 more time on the opposite leg. Second corrective drill, the happy baby. This is one of the newer drills in the FMS. Legs pulled up, and grab the inside of the leg or the outside of the foot, depending on what your mobility allows you to do. You want the head and the neck to be on the floor in a nice, relaxed position. If they are not able to do that, you take your Perform Better half roll or any other pad, set it underneath their neck, make sure your client is comfortable. Peyton is comfortable in this position, so what he will do first is he will roll from hip to hip, maintaining the foothold. This is an awareness drill, so you find out if you have any problems left side versus right side in your rolling. All right, second part of the drill, we'll come back to the center. All right, he's going to roll to his left, and he's going to extend that bottom leg out. going to bring back to the center. He's going to go to the other side. Here again, another awareness drill to know if it's harder on one side versus the other. Third part of the drill, he's going to roll to his left. He's going to extend that bottom leg down. He's going to bring that top foot over, grab with both hands. He's going to get it to the floor. All right. Now from here, he's going to go nose to toes. This is a difficult position for a lot of people to maintain a nice neutral spine. So you take your pad, put it underneath their neck to make them comfortable. Cycle 3 to 5 breaths here. Keep pulling the nose to the toes. And then once he does that, he'll go back to the starting position. And you will go to the other side for this video. We're not going to go to the other side just so you can see what we got going on here. So you can relax, baby. So that's a couple correctives and a breakdown of the movement pattern so that hopefully someone who's newly certified in the FMS, who may be overwhelmed, not know exactly what to look for, hopefully this video helps that. If you've been with the FMS for a while and maybe gotten away from it, hey, maybe this is a great refresher that gets you back into the fray. Again, thank you for watching. I'm Trey Belcher, Trey Belcher Training, Facebook, Instagram, Trey Belcher Training. Remember to move well and move often, and thanks for watching.
So Trey did an outstanding job of breaking down some of the concepts from the active straight leg raise. And we just want to continue those and just give you an idea of how to build them up into more functional positions. And functional, I mean positions that we're going to see more movement, some more acceleration, deceleration, and so forth, where we also have to navigate gravity more. So while we want to work some stuff out on the ground because that's the most stable environment to work those situations out, eventually we're going to get more upright. And as we get more upright, we start to see again those compensations potentially come about. So what I'm going to do in a moment is do what we call a tall kneeling around the world. So there's a halo with a kettlebell, but there's an around the world the ultimate sandbag. And the reason I'd rather use the ultimate sandbag here is because the greater range of motion is going to accentuate a lift and chop motion through my body. So those diagonal patterns that are so essential to human movement are going to be amplified through this pattern. And what you're also going to find by using those is we're going to get those reflexive actions that Trey was talking about. I can't hold maximal tension, nor do I want to, because that goes against the movement. If I hold maximal tension, I can't have fluid movement. And really, ultimately, what I look for with strength training is building more efficient movement. So being in tall kneeling is going to cause me to have to react to the weight a little bit different. It's going to be harder for me to bring in my other compensations or ways of creating this artificial stability. Now, what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of a progressional series too. So in DVRT, we actually teach people to press the balls of their feet first. And then what that does is it helps me create my hip extension, because a lot of people, as they do this, they'll go into a little bit hip flexion. Even in subtle hip flexion, we start to lose the impact of the core. So that's our baseline, just to have some stability. Over time, we're going to remove that by just flexing our feet this way so that we don't have to rely on that stability to create the action. So again, we want to try to have that regular breathing that Trey was talking about as well. We don't want to be holding our breath. Having said that, you'll often find with clients the first couple of times, they're naturally going to hold their breath because they're not sure about the movement. That's already sort of creating that stability. So again, be patient with people. Don't overload them with too much too fast. So I'm going to begin with my toes down, and I want my knees under my hips and my feet in line with my knees. So a way a lot of people create artificial stability is if they widen their feet. So we're going to get a little bit more underneath ourselves, so we have to rely a little bit more on that reflexive action. Now, I want to grab either a core or power ultimate sandbag, largely because the dimension is going to play a role in this. And I'm going to grab the outside handles, and I want to get nice and tall first. So not a lot of tension in the hands, but I am pressing to the balls of my feet. My eyes are forward. I'm going to try to relax my breathing, and I'm going to bring my left elbow into my body, allow my right arm to clear, and what I'm aiming for is to reach right between my shoulder blades. And I'm trying to do that without going into that lumbar extension. So here I have my plank. I want to create a little tension in my feet. That helps me keep my ribs down. Now I want to sort of relax my breathing again here. I want to be comfortable here, and try to slowly raise. My elbow comes in, and I'm going to come all the way back to full extension. A lot of people hold flexion in their arms, showing me they're holding too much tension into the movement. So I'll show you the other side in a moment. One side's going to feel more comfortable than the other. But I want to sort of just relay, this is the circular patterns that FMS talks about with things like Indian clubs. And Thomas talks about with a lot of the historical actions of physical culture. So our bodies like circular actions. So when I come up here, again, pushing my feet initially, you can progress it by coming down. And when I come down my feet like so, I need to make sure I really understand how to create stability, because I can't rely on my feet to keep that hip extension. A lot of people, because they don't feel strong, will start to dive down or they'll duck their heads. And we don't want that. We want you to stay nice and open, breathing comfortably, and having your eyes stay straight ahead, coming down very relaxed. So it should feel not like muscular effort necessarily to do the movement. You shouldn't feel like, man, that was a lot in my arms, my shoulders. And some people will say, well, if I have some stiff shoulders, should I be doing this? This is perfect, not necessarily because I'm taking my shoulders in all these different ranges of motion, but because if I teach how to have core and hip stability, it'll help my shoulder mobility. And that's what we're really trying to get the message across by combining what FMS does with some of our DVRT exercises. Now, where if you see people move poorly, they tend to go back to parts, meaning if I squat badly, if I see something like this, then we're gonna go after maybe like the hips, and we're gonna do all this hip isolated work. While the hips could be contributing to the issue, what we have to think about are these kinetic chains. What's causing the hip to not work well? And the squat's a great example of this, because a lot of times we ask people to do a bodyweight squat, and we've all seen it. We see people do something like that. And then we're like, oh, we're a little overwhelmed because we start putting in our head all these things we have to fix. But if you take someone then and have them hold on to something like a suspension trainer, and you just give them a little bit of that counterbalance, right? Just a little bit, all of a sudden they squat much better. So what that starts to tell us is that it's not really about the parts, it's about the nervous system, right? Because if it was about the parts, I wouldn't be able to get into a good squat just by giving a little bit more stability to my body. But what we want to do is not have to become reliant on artificial stability. A lot of times what we're trying to do is build that core integration with the rest of the body. Now, initially for a lot of people, because we have people that are not necessarily in touch with their bodies, they're thinking about 20 million things when they're coming to the gym, we want to offer some feedback methods so they understand how to use their body better, so that we start to cement these patterns over time so they do become more reflexive, right? So I always say in DVRT, what we're aiming to do is we're going to give you a lot of feedback, and then we want you to become more reflexive. And once you understand how to use your body from these other tools, then we can actually rely on our body's natural nervous system, right? But a lot of people, they're so detached from the nervous system, they don't really understand how to use their bodies correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a press-out band squat. Now, one thing first about the bands, I actually love the extra large Minibands from Perform Better because they just allow us a little bit more movement. We want to create tension against the band. So think of the band as being another coach to me, right? So people can be kinesthetic learners. So how do I know what I want to be doing with my hips? So again, one of the cues we want people to do is, if I relax my feet, you see how my knees fall in and the band wants to pull me in. But if I just try to grab the ground with my feet, I start to create tension against the band. So without doing anything about pushing out, I'm starting to create that tension, that foundation. Now, continue that, I want to keep trying to break the band with my feet and see how I open up room to give myself, my pelvis, some room to move. Now, the other great thing about this is we think about the concept of proximal stability for distal mobility. We tend to think about that when it comes to the spine, opening up the hips and shoulders, which it does. But we can also use that concept for other areas of the body. So if we think about Gray and Mike Boyle's approach of joint by joint, we can think about it. If the foot is supposed to create stability and the ankle is supposed to create mobility, if we're having some issues with ankle mobility, it makes sense we need to encourage some foot stability first. So that's why grabbing the ground is so important. Now what we're going to do with the ultimate sandbag here is now we're going to work the core from the top down. When I got to spend some wonderful time with Gray, he talked about the body in quadrants. And it reminded me, like, we say something similar in DVRT where we want to engage the core from the bottom up and the top down. So one of the reasons people fall in the squat is they don't have that core engagement. They don't know how to use it. So we're going to use a small ultimate sandbag, preferably like a core. Now there's two different ways to hold the weight. I'm going to show you my preferred method if possible. Now I'll explain why. So we're going to grab actually inside the bag, and what we're going to do is pull the bag apart. So now I've engaged my lats, I start to get a little core tension. Now when you do this, see how my elbows stay in my ribs, they don't flare out. So I want to keep that in my body. So I'm going to grab it around my feet, I'm going to have that tension, I'm at my belly button, not my chest, and I'm going to slowly push my knees out as I continue to break the bag apart. And then when I hit that bottom position, I'm keeping that tension, I'm pushing through my feet, pushing these out, and then I pull the weight back in. So you see how deep I can go. Now I'm about 6'4", I have horrible spinal disease, I have fused ankle joints, but I got a pretty good range of motion because I was able to tie my nervous system. Now I like this position because it just opens up the shoulders a little bit more. However, if it feels too heavy, we can turn the bag, and the nice thing about open sandbag is you just manipulate how you hold it and get new stress more vertically. Now when I'm in this position, I still want that tension. I still want to pull the bag apart, so when I descend, I still want to be pressing out, and you want to time the movement the same as your squat. So I don't want to push out and then go. That's going to feel heavy in my neck and my shoulders. I'm trying to create a dynamic plank through the action. So again, it's slow, but you're grooving the movement. You're sort of teaching the pattern, you're teaching that core strength and how it's going to allow you to squat much deeper, and you're going to start to learn how to move your body through space. So one of the things that attracted me to doing this series with Trey and FMS is that, I think FMS does a wonderful job of explaining movement. And that's really what we're looking at, because if we address movement, we'll train muscles, we'll improve mobility, we'll improve stability, we'll get stronger, we'll move faster. But if we try to work on individual parts, it's a very inefficient way, and we're not sure we're going to get there. And to me, I really experienced this personally, having lost use of my right leg. I had to reteach myself how to walk. Having, issues with my spine where I'm losing my right arm because there's so much compression upon my nerves. It's all congenital, I didn't do anything. A lot of these exercises are like life-saving to me. That's how I move and live every day. So, what we want to do is take some of these concepts and just keep showing you how we progress them. Lifts and chops are nothing new. They come from the system of PNF, where we have diagonal patterns re-educating our nervous system. Now, Gray and Lee did a great job of sort of bringing that to light. They have these great series of progressions. They go, half kneeling, they go inline lunge, and it dawned on me, what if we took this to a more performance route? If it's good in corrective exercise, why isn't it good in performance and fitness, right? We want to bring it to higher levels. So for me, this was actually a drill that helped me continue to learn how to reuse my right leg. Now, what we're doing is basically going that lift and chop. Now, we don't want to come overhead. A lot of people want to go overhead with this drill. It's the one thing about that diagonal. Now, why am I using Ultimate Sandbag? It's my preferred tool, not because I make them, but because they give you, again, an opportunity to teach people how to use their body correctly. What we're going to do is we're going to create tension in my hands again. As Greg talks about, the hands and the feet are the connections to your entire body. So once I get that break here, I start to actually engage a lot of those muscles, right? And not only that, versus being, pronated and trying to break this way, it's a lot harder for most people versus this way, I immediately can feel everything come together. Now, keeping that tension is also going to help me maintain that stability. So let me go over what we're going to do. So we're going to grab a core Ultimate Sandbag again, about 10-15 pounds, goes a long ways for people. And I'm going to create a little tension to start with. I'm grabbing inside the handles because I want to grab the bag itself to create that stability. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step back in that lunge. As I do so, I'm going to bring the bag to my side, similar to our max lunge that many people are familiar with. Like so. Now, notice I want the lunge to look perfect, right? The movement quality is always my main concern. And when I hold that position, notice how nice and upright I get. I engage those lats very much like our press out squat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move a little bit into that lift and chop. So what I'm going to use is that acceleration from the ground, me driving through my feet to bring myself in that natural pattern. Now, what you've noticed there is that my arms were staying straight the whole time. A lot of people, when they first do a lot of our lifts and chops, they'll bend one of the arms. As soon as you do that, you put load in the shoulder, you take away from the connections that we're trying to make. The reason I like to pattern it this way so much, and you could do it the other way, is that when I come up here, I'm really getting into that hip-shoulder complex, right? The connection, the fact that we cross pattern. Now, it's a great also way to teach anti-rotation. I'm working contralaterally, even though the load's over here, because this side has to work and not letting me over-rotate. And how do I do that? Through the pressure I create through my feet and my hands. So little cues that anyone can understand to increase performance, but more importantly, awareness of how to use their bodies more effectively and more efficiently.